This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Life. I am so delighted to introduce you to Amy Faulkner and her doctor, Dr. Carl Chakmahjian. And your story is one of perseverance and a survivor and just dogged determination, because you have received what nobody wants to hear, and that's a diagnosis of cancer. Tell me a little bit about yourself. First, I know you're a school teacher. You've been teaching for many years at China Spring.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a school teacher. I've been teaching for this is my 21st year. I'm also a mother of two wonderful children. My daughter is 22, and she just started this week her first real job. She's a NICU nurse in Houston.
Oh, my goodness.
And so she's really excited about that. And then my son is a sophomore in college, and he's a football player at Lamar University. So just kind of a new stage in life with them both being adults. But yeah, my job as a teacher, and I spent a lot of time grading papers and preparing for my school day. But I love it. I love being a teacher.
And your husband also an educator.
Yes.
As well.
He's superintendent. So yeah, feels like our whole lives have just been in education at the school. That's where we live, pretty much.
But some years ago, you were dealt quite a surprise, and that was a diagnosis of cervical cancer.
Yes.
And that's where Dr. Chakmahjian, who's with Texas Oncology, comes into the picture. How was it found? Was it just a regular pap smear?
It was a pap smear, but I wouldn't say it was regular. I really had just been experiencing some trouble, some irregular bleeding, and I really thought I decided to diagnose myself, and that I just wanted to go and talk about having a hysterectomy. I thought that would solve my problems. So I went in, they did the exam, and really while I was in the office, the doctor told me that they saw a problem, and he told me that day that he really thought it would be cancer, and I was shocked. I mean,
You were 40.
That was not on my radar at all. And so I left with my head spinning, and they actually called me from that office the next day at school and told me that it was cancer. And so that kind of started this journey.
Mm-hmm. And so when you got in with the specialist, about how long did that take, Doctor? Dr. C, do you know? Can I call you that?
Absolutely. So I think you probably saw a gynecologic oncologist first, correct?
Well, actually, it was just it was a specialist that I went to for that exam, but pretty much once they called and gave me that diagnosis, my best friend from elementary, middle school, high school, works at Texas Oncology. So, of course, I immediately called her, and she jumped into action and said, come see us. So that's kind of how I ended up there.
Right. So is that an area that you're specializing in with cervical cancer, or just all kinds of cancers?
So we are pretty much utility infielders in Waco. So we all see a little bit of everything, and we work with gynecologic cancers. We work in conjunction with gynecologic oncologists, who are the surgical oncologists who specialize in cancers of gynecologic origin, and so we work hand in hand with them to try to help deliver the care locally.
Mm-hmm. And this was a journey you started 10 years ago.
2016 is in November of 2016.
And that involved a lot of chemotherapy?
It did. I actually started with internal radiation, then we did chemo and radiation, then followed it up with another round of chemo at the end. So it was pretty intense, and all of that was new at that time. I had never experienced anything like that, so it was pretty intense journey.
Right. But you've been described as an amazing patient by yourself.
She is tough as nails.
That's right, because you never missed any school. I mean, you never took a sick day
never,
off?
Yeah, never for sick. Now,
For
I
sick?
had to miss for treatment
Well, yeah,
or for
exactly.
visits. But yes, I never, and people would ask, well, did you take some time off, or, did you stay home? But I just felt like if I stayed home, all I would have to do is sit around and think about the fact that I was sick. But, when you're a high school teacher, you don't have time to think about anything like that when you're at work. So those kids keep you busy.
Yeah.
They keep you young, entertained. And so I wanted to be at school each day because that's where I needed to be. And I also think part of it was because, my first diagnosis, my son was in 7th grade. My daughter was a sophomore at the high school where I work. And so for me, it was really important that they didn't view me as being sick. It was just, Mom's still doing her normal thing. She's at work. She's teaching.
Right.
We see her there. And I wanted their lives to stay as normal as possible.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And of course, your daughter, though I know she was drawn into the medical aspect and how wants to have her career as a
and
in the medical field.
She actually told them that at her interview that that kind of sparked her sophomore year. She would come with me sometimes, and just seeing how important a nurse is in a patient's treatment. That how those nurses treat their patients, and looking at it from the aspect of a daughter of a patient, she wanted to make a difference like that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she is going to.
Yes.
A little bit about you, Dr. Chakmahjian. Where are you from? And tell me about what kind of led you to this career path?
So born and raised in Dallas,
Uh-huh.
and came to Baylor, and then went to medical school in Fort Worth. And I had planned on a different career, and I was doing my internal medicine residency, and one of my buddies he said, Carl, I remember I was on call at the Temple VA, and we were on call in the call room that night, and he said, you're going to switch to oncology. This is like, this is what's meant for you. And I was like, whatever,
really?
man. And he was right, and I did, and I really feel like I'm where I need to be. So straight out of training, came back to Waco 18 years ago and joined Texas Oncology there, and that's where I am today.
Yeah, I understand you have a brother also a physician? Is that right?
My brother is a dentist in Dallas, but I have a double first cousin who's a pediatrician in Waco.
Okay, with the same last name.
He's pretty much a brother, yeah.
Okay, well, I'd heard that. I thought, well, that's, it's...
Our dads are married to twin sisters, so...
Oh, my goodness.
Kind of like two sets of parents.
That's amazing.
So what is it about this field of medicine that, you felt like this is right for you? Is it the research and the new treatments, or?
Yeah, so oncology is great in so many regards. The best part about me are the patients. There's people like Amy,
right,
and they come and they fight, and they're really an inspiration. Yeah. And so, to me, the best part are the patients. I love, and one thing for me, just scientifically, that drew me to oncology is there's a lot of active clinical research that you don't have access to. I just don't feel like in other areas of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always try to keep a handful of trials open in Waco, and we can do that just because we're part of a bigger network. And so that we can have exposure to drugs that are investigational and that change the future for treatment. And so I love the clinical aspect of research with oncology. So, I think it's the patients and the clinical research were the two big draws for me.
So has Amy been a part of any of the research trials, or?
I don't think you have been in a trial.
No, I haven't been in a trial.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and you have been her physician or through this aspect of her treatment for a long time? How long?
The whole time.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Since 2016.
Oh, my goodness.
We talk about him like he's family.
I was going to say he might as well
be. We just talk about Dr. Chalk, everybody knows who he is, and, just part of the family.
Yeah, yeah. So the treatment for her particular cancer, you say, started out with the radiation, and then you went to an oral or an IV, or how did they do the
An
chemo?
IV, yeah. Each time it's been an IV, and so... unfortunately, it wasn't a one and done. So after 2016, we went through all that, and that following June of 2017, we were finished with treatment. And the next March of 2018, it came back in a lymph node by my collarbone. So we had that removed, and we did chemo and radiation again. And then in 2022, it came back again in my lung. And so we did chemo and radiation again. And then in 2023, it came back again. And so at that point, I shouldn't be talking like I'm a doctor, but if I'm correct, once you've radiated an area, you can't do it. You can't radiate it again. Right. So radiation wasn't an option, so we just did chemo. And then we actually just found out I had, the cough and out of breath and all of that came back in kind of in January. And so we had a thoracentesis and had a lung drained, and we had that fluid tested, and it's back again. So next Friday, I'll actually start my 5th battle, and we're going to do it again, right?
We're going to do it again.
So a fighter, as you say, though, and you haven't let it define you.
Correct, yes.
What does that mean? I mean, how do you
I think
describe
it's
that?
just, it's kind of secondary in my life. I don't focus on it. It's, it's just something to do. I mean, I go to school, and then I'll run after school and do my blood work at Texas Oncology and get it done right quick. And then treatment days are usually on Fridays. And luckily this year we're off on Fridays, so it hasn't affected. Yeah, it's been really nice. Yeah, so it's just one of those things you check off your list and you get it done and move on with the other more important fun things in life.
Yeah, going to a football game.
That's right. Going to watch them play
you
football.
You have to go to see some Lamar
kids.
football.
That's right.
Well, I know it's been a life-changing, for your family. What kind of sustains you through this besides your grit and determination? And school. I mean, I know you enjoy your work.
I think
obviously.
A combination. Yeah, my family, and then just kind of and I might give myself more importance, but I feel like my kids at school need me. I mean, I teach AP English, so we're preparing for an exam that they'll take on May 14th, and so. I feel like if I'm not there, they're not going to be ready. So, I'm constantly getting trained, watching new training videos, preparing new lessons so that we can be, I can be the best teacher possible to get them ready for where they need to be. And that's kind of my focus.
I'm sure there are other doctors you've consulted with on her case. I mean, about how many people total have been involved in her journey so far?
Physician-wise, the radiation doctor, obviously, and then gynecologic oncologist, and then I'm the chemo doctor, the one everybody hates. And so, but I mean, pretty much 3 of us kind of working together.
And this has been something that, you're very upbeat about and optimistic that, but this is one more hurdle.
Right, absolutely. Just look at it as, well, we've done this. We've done it 4 times. We can do it one more time. And, Texas Oncology is great. Like I said, we laugh because we talk about him all the time like he's one of the family. But, at Texas Oncology, when you've been there as long as I have, you know everybody and you feel comfortable there. And, all the people are so kind. And, anytime you have a problem or a question, they answer it for you immediately. So it's it's not a scary process because you feel comfortable with those people,
right?
And that they're
so often you hear, well, if you get this, you got to go to MD Anderson, we got to go to Houston, and that's really not true.
Right. That's I mean, so MD Anderson obviously is a great academic institution, and the bulk of cancer care. I mean, we take care of. I would estimate probably about 90% of cancer stuff at Texas Oncology in Waco, and there are some rare things that people do need to go out of town for. It's if there's a rare cancer there's 3 cases in Texas a year, and those 3 cases are seen by a doctor in Dallas or Houston. Well, then they need to go to Dallas or Houston, but our mission is to deliver, not to try, hopefully to deliver high quality care close to home. And if we see somebody and it's not something we do, we say, hey, you need to go to this doctor in Dallas or this doctor in Houston or Austin or whatever. But if it's something that we do and we do a lot, we just take care of it here, and so that hopefully people's lives can be as normal as possible. They can continue with their job, their exercise routine. I mean, you're like a big runner too, right, Amy?
Oh, tell me about that.
I tried. I
I get out of breath. That's what I get out of running.
Yeah, since it came into my lungs and the breathing's been difficult, but I would love to get back to it for sure.
Yeah. So what other, kind of hobbies or things do you like to cook? I mean, has this affected, your appetite and all that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, during treatment, a lot of times it does.
So what do I want to eat?
Exactly. It affects you have weird cravings and you don't like things that you used to like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's always strange. But, like I said, with both my kids being gone now, or empty nesters, so that was a weird transition.
Sure.
I actually went into mourning for a little while when my son graduated, but we're kind of getting used to things now. And so we have a German Shepherd that we take on walks every night, and just cooking and reading. I love to read when I have time. When I'm not grading papers, I love to read. So
all English.
Yeah, that's right. Reading, writing, grading.
Well, now when you were in school, did you always kind of know you wanted to be a teacher? Is that?
I did. I think in high school, I had a really good English teacher in high school, and I can remember
something about those English teachers.
I know. I remember sitting there thinking, that's what I want to do. Look at her. I want to do that. And so, I took that traditional path when I graduated, and that's, I knew that's what I wanted to do and stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, I was able to see the lovely piece that Julie Hayes did at Channel 10 earlier in the month with you both. And, it was just so beautifully done as she talked about your career and just your I keep saying grit and determination, but just the strength and courage that you've shown in the face of this, to not just crawl off in the corner and curl up and
right.
Yeah,
and I think that I really think being a teacher helps. Just because you feel like it's not just a regular job that you go to. That
that's true.
When you go to school, you got to be on. 24/7. But like I said, the kids, they're so much fun and they make you laugh. And every day is a new day. You never know what's going to happen, and so. I think that helps a lot as well. Right,
and in a close-knit community.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
China Springs, they're all family, and at this point, after teaching some families I've taught all 4 of their children, and they're
Have you been there long enough? You haven't been there long enough to start teaching their kids, but I have a friend who did teach that long.
But everybody's so supportive, so it's a great place to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there really has been a lot of support. Folks, if you needed meals or whatever, they're ready to step in and.
They have been.
Yeah, church family, the same kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of the same kind of way of just. Really from all different. When my kids were still in high school, Raylan's volleyball team, Braden's baseball team. Just different groups of parents, just, people who have taught their kids, just, people, like you said, bringing by food, things that you need, asking if, not that necessarily need anything, but always asking, can we
what
help
can I
you
do
out?
for you? Is there anything you need?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's, I think it's important for others to be able to serve you that way, too.
Yeah, it is very nice.
It's a blessing for them as well. So what are your thoughts, Dr. Chuck? That's what we're going to call you, Dr. Chakmahjian, on this next phase of her treatment?
Yeah. So when we're treating with something with certain drugs and the cancer changes, then we've got to change, and so that's all we're doing. We're going to pivot to a different type of drug than her cancer's been exposed to, and we're going to change up our plan of attack, and try to get this thing beat back down.
Yeah. And so you really just do blood work, or how do you monitor that? The success.
We have to check blood counts regularly, and kidney and liver and all that stuff because of side effects from the medicines. But we monitor the progression of the disease with CAT scans.
So otherwise, your health is good. Because you have had a lot of chemicals,
Yeah, I mean, and you can tell just by listening to her. And by the way, you aren't underestimating your importance. I mean, you are important to your kids and those students.
Absolutely.
I mean, she's just a go-getter. Mark, her husband, super guy, always there supporting her. So she's got great support. And like I said, she's tough as nails. She doesn't complain. She just comes in, takes care of business, and goes on with life. And I think one thing that she said that's super important is that she's keeping her life as normal as possible is really important to people's success when they're undergoing treatment for cancer, because Amy is exactly correct. When you sit home, you get this list of these are all the possible side effects of these drugs, and you're used to being busy, and then you go home and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna stop my life because I want to be prepared to fight. But then people are used to doing, and then you sit there and you're looking at this list, and then everything on the list starts happening, right?
Sure.
And so I think the choices that she's made has really helped her. Excuse me, I better speak proper English here.
Yeah. Well, that's important, and that's why I'm just awestruck at your story and your willingness. I got to thinking, with all the HIPAA laws, I think here I've got a doctor and a patient talking about that would be such top secret you can't talk.
Right.
But it is such a help to other people that might find themselves in a similar situation, and how you've just taken this head on.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, I mean, that's kind of what, when I was talking to Julie Hayes, kind of the message we want to get out is, when I did finally go to the doctor, I was the busy mom that only focused on her kids, and I hadn't been to the doctor in probably 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. I didn't ever go
didn't
for
have
myself.
A cold or whatever.
Right. You don't go to the doctor unless you're sick.
Right.
So,
you don't go unless you're sick.
That's definitely a message for women, is to, take the time for yourself, get those exams done, and, because
breast
it can make a
exams,
difference.
all those things.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to, well, the last time you had a mammogram was 7 years ago.
Right, and just time gets away from you, and you forget.
Right,
So,
right.
Early detection is absolutely the key.
Right.
So so that's what really appreciate Amy doing this, because I'm sure it's hard to talk about all this, but I mean, it can really save women's lives, and starting in your early 20s, going to get your PAP, every few years, every 3 years or so, just staying on top of things, and for parents who are listening, cervical cancer is associated with the virus, and a lot of times, and we have vaccines that can help prevent that now.
So you recommend that? I wonder,
absolutely,
what is it, the HPV virus?
Yeah, HPV virus causes more than 90% of cervical cancer cases.
Really? Yeah.
And it's just prevalent. Just depending on the numbers you look at, up to 50% of the population are carriers for HPV, and so and they don't all cause cancer. And some cause this type of cancer, some cause that type of cancer. But there's a vaccine that wasn't available when we were younger, but starting at around the age 11 now, at age 11, and that you can get, it's a 2 series shots, and 2 series of shots.
And obviously this is just for girls.
Doctor. No, actually,
it's not?
Regardless of gender, yeah.
Oh, really?
And so
HPV
is also associated with oropharyngeal cancers, and other types of cancers. So regardless of your gender, the vaccine is recommended now, starting around the age of 11 for all comers.
Wow.
And you can prevent, so I think really in 20 years, a lot of cervical cancer could be extinct because of the vaccine.
Wow. Well, great advice. Great advice. You both have been so awesome. I thank you so much for the time you've shared with us today, and wish you all the best in your journey, and pray that God would continue to have his hand on your life, and you would, beat this next phase.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
And Dr. Chakmahjian, thank you so much for the service you give to Central Texas.
Well, absolutely. This is what makes it worth it right here, Amy.
I can see that. Thank you both so much. Thank you for being with us for Central Texas Life. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. This has been a Rogue Media Network